is only war.
What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. I got a special treat for you today. We're going to be doing a Black Legion Veilbraker plate video for you. Hopefully we can get this to you as soon as possible before 10th edition hits. We still have about another 2 months to go before 10th edition by the time you see this video. So hopefully you get to see it, jump on it, use it, practice it, and use it as much as possible before 10th edition, because it's definitely going to be going away. So this whole video is going to be showing you how to precisely focus on the Veilbraker plate for Black Legion. I know it's been talked about in a bunch of other videos and other actually I only think Blog for the Blog guys mentioned this. I don't know if a lot of YouTubers are using this strategy, but Blog for the Blog guide has been using this. When the Chaos Space Marine Codex came out, this relic is what got me to really focus and get Chaos Space Marines up and running as soon as possible, because it's exactly my playstyle. Veilbraker plate is basically you're going to be picking up a unit, a core unit, and then putting it via deep strike on the table outside 9 inches away from another enemy unit. Now with the combo with the Black Legion, it's going to be so much beneficial and so much, oh my god, just kill shit. And the easiest charge hopefully you can make in your life on the board. So we're going to explain how to set it up, what you're going to be aiming for, what you're going to be looking for, what you want to get out of it. I'm going to try and make it as quick and simple as possible, especially for my boy Keeble, who runs this list every single time he plays a mission or a tournament coming up. But shout out to Blog for the Blog God. Let's do a collab because we run the same fucking lists all the time. So let's get into it. So first, the list that you need, the key things in the list that you need is, first off, Abaddon, unit of 10 Terminators, kit them out whatever you want. My Terminators I run are Combi Plasmas, 4 Combi Meltas, 4 Power Fists, 2 Chain Fists, and the rest of Cursed Weapons. That's my loadout. It's very expensive, but my whole list is built around this Veilbraker plate and just abusing the rules that Chaos Space Marines have. Then you want the Chaos Sorcerer Terminator armor that has the Veilbraker plate on it. You can only put Veilbraker plate on a Terminator character, which I think him and the Lord are like the only two, but you want to bring the Sorcerer because you can do a lot of stuff with him. I made him Jentzsch because with the Veilbraker plate you actually get Armor of Contempt again, which is -1 AP to anything that's coming in. And with him being Jentzsch, he ignores the first failed save. So he's very, very tanky. And I use the Jentzsch power to buff up my bikes in my list as well. So he can cast a 4-up invuln save on the bikes. He can also do Diabolical Strength, which, you put that on the Terminator Captain. Gives him +2 strength and +2 attacks. And then you can also do Death Hex if you want to kind of get rid of an invuln save on the other side. Or any other spell, just do whatever the fuck you want on that guy. He's got a Combi Melta because Black Legion hits on 2s. He's really cool. Then the Master of Possession. The Master of Possession is the Libor of Hereticus. He gets to cast 3 powers. He also gets to Shank. He's the main focus of the list because he's able to Shank a Terminator, kill him, and then res him either the same turn or a turn later, which most of the time is what I do, to kind of increase the range of the threat, which this all sounds crazy because it is. And then we'll show you kind of how we get that extra 4-inch charge on the unit that you're trying to get with the Veilbraker plate. Then we have the Dark Apostle. He's there in Black Legion because there's a Black Legion relic that everything within 6 inches of him becomes Obsec, character, and core. So Terminator's a core, Abaddon character. So he gets to kind of be in the fray, give them Illusionary Supplication, so that way they are, Trans-Hitman, and just kind of do all the fun stuff. So yeah, that's the core thing you want to do with Veilbraker plate. Now you can use Veilbraker plate with the bikes. I have bikes on my list. You can use it with a Legionnaire squad. You can use it himself. It says up to 1 unit, so you can just Veilbraker himself kind of anywhere you need to do. So that's like if you're like, all right, I'm tabling the opponent, I don't really need it, I have it, let me just kind of put him over there. You can do it that way. Or if you're getting tabled and you want to get your Terminator the fuck out of dodge, you can just pick him up and kind of put him anywhere else. All right. So before we get in the video, that's what we're going to go over. But I appreciate all my Patreons. If you guys like the content, you want to see more content coming up, definitely go head over to Patreon. It's $1 a month, $5 for Justicar, $10 for if you're into the competitive scene, you want to send me over lists, ideas, questions, comments, anything you guys want to pick my brain. That's the competitive scene. If you guys want to go fucking balls to the wall and be a Grandmaster dirtbag, I actually get to run your list that you want to see on the table, kind of tweak it a little bit and kind of run it as a battle report so you guys can see me play it live on the table. That's the Grandmaster perk. So definitely go check that out. If you guys are new, definitely head over to Discord because everybody helps each other out. Those guys are fucking awesome. They're dirtbags, but really, really cool dirtbags. It's a good community. So, and also we're selling a shit ton of stuff. Like 3D6 Wargaming just sponsored us. There's a whole link of everything you can get, all these objective markers that we have in place, all the characters, there's stickers, dice, all that stuff on 3D6 Wargaming. You get to go check that out and kind of customize the armies that you play on 3D6 Wargaming and get some playmats for you guys. So let's get into the video. I actually set this up for you guys so it's a lot easier to see. I kind of zoomed in on everything, but this is kind of the setup that you're going to be wanting to put on the table. So this is the ruin. You can kind of pretend that if it's the big Games Workshop ruin, but basically all the guys as far forward, 1 inch away from the wall, so that way you can't get charged, but you want to get them aggressive. And the reason, because you have the center objective that you're either going to try and get to turn 1, or you're going to have the opponent come at you turn 2. So there's 2 things you're going to be doing for this thing. Is if you're going to Veilbraker play turn 1, you have to have something to kill and get out of the Veilbraker plate. What do I mean by that? Let's back up. I'm only going to Veilbraker plate if I can get as much points or as much of a threat on the board that it's going to be worth it. If I Veilbraker plate just to get on an objective and kind of just sit there, you wasted Veilbraker plate. It's always in the opponent's mind that, shit, he has a teleport that he can do anytime throughout the game, once per game, but I need to defend either my backfield or I need to be super cautious on where I'm going to put my units, because if I put a character out of place, he can just Veilbraker plate and just kill that character. So it's really a mind fuck for the opponent. Where is he going to Veilbraker plate? When's he going to do it? Nolan, for an example, a good guy that we play with all the time, he always is afraid of Veilbraker plate because he doesn't know when it's going to happen. So he's trying to kill my guy with Veilbraker plate as soon as possible because of that strategy, that mental fuck. When's it going to happen? So you need to make sure, as the Black Legion player, when are you going to Veilbraker plate? Are you going to Veilbraker plate to kill, 300-400 points of the opponent's army and then charge and just kind of tie them up? That's a good Veilbraker plate. Am I going to Veilbraker plate to the center of the board just to get Warp Ritual off? That's a bad Veilbraker plate. Am I going to Veilbraker plate my Terminators way the fuck out of nowhere and just kind of be out of the game? So that's 500 and some points just kind of sitting over there. That's a bad Veilbraker plate. So I got to make sure that's a bad Veilbraker plate. So that is kind of the first thing you want to do, is make sure when am I going to do it, where am I going to do it, and who am I going to kill to do it. So here's an example. At my last GT, one of my good Veilbraker plates that I did was turn 2. I had turn 1. I moved up, got ready for the Veilbraker plate, killed a Terminator, made sure I had one ready to go, which I'll explain. And then turn 2, he put his big Turbogon in the front, surrounded by a Hive Tyrant, right next to a Hive Tyrant behind a wall, next to 3 big dudes right next to him, which are the Flamer guys, strength 5 or strength 6, AP 2 damage. And then you have a whole bunch of Hormagaunts on the other side of the wall. What I did for Veilbraker plate was I Veilbraker plated all my melts in front of that Turbogon. I Veilbraker plated my plasmas and everything else kind of closer towards the other guys. And then I was in range with all the bolters to shoot the Hormagaunts. So what I did was I Veilbraker plated, put the Melta from the Sorcerer, the 4 melts into the Turbogon. I killed the Turbogon. I put the rest of the bolters into the Hormagaunts, and then I put all the plasmas into the Flamer guys, and then I charged the Flamer guys. All right, so that's what we got out of the Veilbraker plate on turn 2. Was we killed an HQ. We killed all the Hormagaunts, which we needed to because they're troops and they're super deadly in the list that I played. And then we assaulted the unit that I wanted to tie up, so that way I could kind of not be shot on my turn or on his turn when he kind of came back at me. So that was an example of what you want to do for Veilbraker plate. So this is how you set it up. We have Abaddon out front, he's leading the way. Abaddon's in the list because he gives you +1 to charges. That's how you get the 4-inch charge for the Veilbraker plate. What you're going to do turn 1 is if you have turn 1, you're going to use your Master of Possession. He's going to shank one of your Terminators, most likely going to be a Melta Terminator. That way when you make it, you're making a guy out front to be closer to what you want to either shoot or charge. And if he has a Melta, he gets a d6 +2 shot because he's closer. So I'm going to, most of the time, kill the one of the combi Meltas with a Power Fist or something first. So what you're going to do, let's get some dice. You're going to be shanking a guy. This guy takes 1 damage. You want to try and kill him turn 1. Obviously, it's up to the dice to do it, but he takes 1 damage. Your Master Possession gets to cast a spell. He's going to cast, let's say, +1 strength and toughness. All right, so that one goes off. Now he's going to shank another Terminator. Perfect. That's what I needed. I got a 3. So I just did 3 damage, 2 mortal wounds, and then 1 mortal wound from the first shank. He can shank twice. He's then going to shank, and now he has to cast another power. The other power he has is Delightful Agonies, which is a Slaanesh power. He's going to put that on Abaddon. Right? Because if I cast Delightful Agonies on my Terminators, they're then, I'm going to have to bring a guy back, which I don't want to do right now. I just want to kill one and let him die. So I'm going to put Delightful Agonies on Abaddon. Great, Abaddon just got healed for nothing because he didn't take anything. But that was the thing, is I have to shank a guy and then cast a power. Wait, Delightful Agonies doesn't, all right, sorry. +1 strength and toughness, and then bring a guy and heal a guy back. So you're not doing Delightful Agonies yet. You're bringing a guy back, which is healing a unit on Abaddon. So you're shanking a guy, casting that power, and then healing Abaddon. Just to say that you healed Abaddon, okay? Just to cast the power, because I need to shank twice. You can't shank for Delightful Agonies. It's not one of the core spells that you can shank with. You can only shank, which I'm saying shank, but it's in the codex where he's able to kind of stab one of his guys, and they take D3 mortal wounds, that unit, all right? So then the next cast you're going to cast is Delightful Agonies, which would go off because you have Venom Crawl on the list. So it goes off, and then you put that on the Terminator squad. Now they have a Feel No Pain. The next key part of the list is the Dark Apostle. Basically, he's going to be giving you OPSEC. So you always want to kind of chain one away from the Dark Apostle, so that way if he's within 6 inches of your last Terminator in line, that whole unit then becomes OPSEC, so that way you're able to kind of steal objectives from your opponent and kind of get across the board, or at least to the center or the side objectives, so that way you can steal objective, get Long War, and stop their primary from happening. So him being a part of this, first off, probably the most important part, he gives off illusionary supplication. So I found this out over the weekend in the GT, that if he fails illusionary supplication, which is the trans hitman, you maybe want to hold off on Veilbraker plating, or at least getting the Terminators out of cover. So that was my mistake, is I failed illusionary supplication. I kind of still sent him out just to kind of kill a bunch of stuff, and then they all died. So he's very important to kind of make sure that you get illusionary supplication off, so that way you can actually perform the Veilbraker plate. And obviously then we have the Veilbraker, which is the Terminator. Now, what you could do is it's in the movement phase. It's not in the beginning, the end, it's in the movement phase. So even if your Terminators are all the way back here, they can just be picked up and kind of like teleported anywhere. But if the Terminator isn't close to the Terminators, you can then move him up, and then this guy back, like pretty close. Let's say they're this far away. This guy can just move up 5 inches. This guy can move back 5 inches, and as long as he's within 3 inches of that unit, he can then just pick up the entire unit and put them somewhere on the table outside 9 inches of the opponent. Now, how it works is they all have to be completely within 6 inches of the Terminator. So 6 inches is a pretty big bubble. So it's completely within. So if you measure 6 inches out, this guy can be all the way out there from your Terminator sorcerer, and then everything else is kind of just sprinkled in between. And then there could be a guy all the way back here. So your bubble from a 6 inch bubble is this far apart. It's you can't even see it on the screen. It's really big. It's about this far apart. All right. So you want to make sure, like, this guy's 6 inches this way, and this guy's 6 inches this way, way within. That's how big you can put all your Terminators within, as long as they're all within 6 inches of the sorcerer. So let's give you an example. Let's pretend it's turn 2. We killed turn 1 our Master Possession, shanked this guy. He walks up. He has to be within 3 inches. He rolls a d3. Let's say he gets a 3 on the first roll. He shanks this guy. This guy now dies. Put him off to the side. Your turn 1's over. Do whatever you gotta do. Shoot, whatever. Now it's turn 2. You can then decide if you want to kind of throw them out and Veilbraker plate to get them wherever, or sometimes you don't have to because you get to just move up and get that charge off. But let's say you want a Veilbraker plate because he's got a unit up in that corner over there. So I'm going to zoom this out so that way you guys can see what the hell I'm talking about. All right, guys. So here's the example. We have our sorcerer in the back here. Again, he can just pick up anybody. We have our Master Possession, kind of in the corner here, being protected by other units. We have our Brick of Terminators. We have our Dark Apostle. He's up front here. And then we have our Abaddon up front as well. How you're going to set this up is Abaddon is probably going to be too far away to get a charge off this turn on anybody over here. But you want him to be within 6 inches of the Terminator unit and also protected once they get the Veilbraker plate off. So I'm going to be running my Abaddon. Abaddon has an assault weapon, so he's still able to run and shoot his bolter. So he's going to be running 2 inches. So he gets to run 8 inches. He's then going to run 8 inches as far forward, just so that way he knows he's going to be protected. So I'm going to put him off to the side over here because my Terminator brick is going to be somewhere right here. Okay? So I'm putting him off, run him as far forward as you possibly can because you want him to kind of be in the fray. So if I run him up 8 inches, he's right there. The next person you're going to run is your Dark Apostle. He's going to be running up because he's got the OPSEC. So he's running up 2 as well. So he's running up 8 inches. Which is going to be right next to Abaddon, but I'm going to put him on the inside of Abaddon because I want to be protected again by the Terminators. So he's going to be running up here. These guys can be used to be kind of come back to sit on this back objective and be character protected by maybe another unit in this building. And then you're going to Veilbraker plate. So we already killed a Terminator, so we don't have to be near this guy to be shanked. You can do this in 1 turn, which I'll explain after this, but we don't have to do that now because we already killed a Terminator. We're then going to pick up our Terminator brick and then put them where we want to be. So this Veilbraker, for an example, is going to be right about there. These guys on the other side of the building are going to be right about there. So I have to be 9 inches away. So I'm going to put all my Meltas outside of 9 inches of this Veilbraker, but I want the Meltas to blow up the Veilbraker. So that way I can blow up a vehicle. And then still kind of go and kill the other unit where I want to kill it. So these guys, the Combi Plasmas, they shoot 12 inches, but all the Meltas shoot 12 inches. So they're going to be right about there. Everybody else you can kind of just sprinkle in between. Now again, you want everybody to be completely within 6 inches of the sorcerer. I'm going to put him right here. And I'm going to measure out 6 inches. So 6 inches, again, Meltas are about 12 inches, so I can put this Melta right here. And then everybody else is completely within 6 inches of this guy. Everybody else is scooching up. So you can make room for this guy over here, put this guy right here. Now again, everybody has to be 9 inches away from this unit as well on the other side of the wall. So we have a 9-inch distance right there. We have a 9-inch distance right there. All the other Terminators are kind of just spread out right here. All right. So there we go. There's our Veilbraker plate brick. Now we got the 9 Terminators with the sorcerer right here. We have 3 Meltas right now. 1, 2, 3, 4 Meltas right now with the sorcerer aiming at the Veilbraker. All the other bolters could probably shoot the Veilbraker just to make sure we blow it up, but also they could be shooting something else, 24 inches away. All right, so that's the first setup. Now what has to happen is we're going to have to make a dude from our Master Possession who's all the way back. He can cast from 24 inches away, so as long as one person from the unit is 24 inches away from the Master Possession, you can create a Terminator. So I'm going to cast the power to try and bring one back, which goes off on an 8. This Terminator that was dead before is then going to be made 2 inches out front of this front guy, and then in coherency with another guy. So you have to make sure both of them are within 2 inches, kind of like this little triangle that I just made. And now if you did it right, this Veilbraker is now within 6 inches of this Melta. So this Melta that we just killed turn 1 now got made, and now is within 6 inches to get D6 plus 2 Melta shot with the unit that you're trying to kill. Now being within 9 inches doesn't matter anymore because you did it during the movement phase, which is kind of like a teleport or a deep strike. So that rule you have to be outside of 9, but when you create a model in the psychic phase, you can actually be within 9 because I'm just adding one to the unit. I'm not deep striking, I'm not coming out of reserves. I'm basically just adding one to the unit. So I'm adding this Melta into the unit that was gated during the movement phase. Okay, so if we did this correctly, we have basically a 9-inch charge,
and then we made another 2-inch gap, so it becomes a 7-inch charge. And then the base is about, almost 2 inches. It's about 1 3/4 of an inch. So that way it's, all right, so 9, 8, 7, 6. Now you're within 6 inches, which is, we just showed, we're within 6 inches of this unit right here. So if you're within 6 inches for the charge, you need to roll a 5 on the dice to successfully make that charge coming out of Veilbraker plate. Now, Abaddon, being within 6 inches of the unit, he gives that core unit a +1 to the charge. So your 5-inch charge now gets brought down to a 4-inch charge. All right, so that's why this combo is so deadly, is because of Abaddon, the Master Possession, and also the Terminators and the Veilbraker plate being able to kind of get out wherever you want to go. Now, again, if I was starting here and I already had my Terminators back here, that's not a huge distance. I probably won't Veilbraker plate to do that. I'll probably just move up, make a guy, and have like a 6-inch charge. But let's say they're super far back or they're on the other side over here. I want to keep my characters pretty much in the fight because when they go out, they're all supported by the Master Possession, the Dark Apostle, and also Abaddon. So let's make our charge. Let's say the Veno Crawler blew up. So we just shot fucking 5 melts at it, and then we make our charge. I roll a 7, which then turns into an 8. So now I have an 8-inch charge. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be charging in 8 inches up to here. And now most likely this unit that's charging is going to murder whatever the fuck they touch over here. Now what you're going to try and do is obviously protect your characters. So how you do that is you keep them within 3 inches from the back guy. So the guy that you don't really care about, let's say it's in a cursed weapon with just a bolter. So this basic Terminator is going to be chilling out in the back here within 3 inches of this guy, within 3 inches of this guy, and within 3 inches of Abaddon. So he's right there, and everybody else has to be in coherency, which is 2 inches. So they're going to be in coherency, which is about 2 inches, and everybody else can then move up. These 3 guys can't move, because if they do, they're then outside of 3 inches from this sorcerer. Now, he could still be protected if you have another unit behind them, but I want to make sure that they're focusing on my Terminators that have illusionary supplication up, feel no pain, +1 toughness. Like they just have all the buffs up on them, so they're super hard to kill. Now, how this is going to work is you're going to pile in. So you're going to pile in, half of a half. So these 2 actually get to fight. Everything else to kind of pile in. They then murder this unit, so this unit dies. And then you're able to pile in and tag that objective. Now, since they're within 6 inches of this Dark Apostle, basically they're OPSEC. So now this whole unit of Terminators is OPSEC and super hard to kill, so they just stole that objective from the unit that's not OPSEC on it. So that's a little cheeky move with the Veilbraker plate. All right, so that is what you're going to be doing with the Veilbraker plate. Let's rewind and pretend that it's turn 1. So we're going to set all this back up. Let's say you have bottom of turn 1, and this is going to be the strategy. When you set up, let's say this is the L. When you set up your models, you're going to have Abaddon out front. You're going to have your Terminators around them, kind of like this. All the Terminators are lined up behind the building so they don't get shot turn 1. You're going to have your Dark Apostle pretty far forward, so that way he's not getting blocked in by the Terminators. So you can go like right there. And then when the Terminators move, he can then move out. You have the Sorcerer really right there, and you have Master Possession pretty far forward right there. So what you're going to do is you can spend 1 CP on turn 1 if you really want to, so that way they can advance and charge, put them into Red Corsairs. Or let's say the opponent is moving up pretty aggressively turn 1. They're already on the center objective. So they're on the center objective. You can then just, I'll lay these guys down so you can really see. All right, so they're right here. They're on the center objective. These guys can then just kind of move out. They're 5 inches. Abaddon can move out, stay within whatever. One guy can stay within 3 inches of the Master Possession, so that way he can get shanked. This guy can move up or run up as far as he can, so they become OPSEC. He can then shank this guy on turn 1, does 2 damage, and then does 2 damage, so kill this guy. And then the same turn, he can make him right there to extend the range and then make that charge. So that's the Master Possession. But another strategy with the Sorcerer is if you're facing a super aggressive army, for example, Blood Angels or the World Eaters, sometimes I actually set my guys all the way back in my deployment zone. So they're going to be set back all the way back here. So that's there. Everything else is kind of back here. So I'm going to put Abaddon up front. The Sorcerer all the way in the back, doesn't really matter. Master Possession as far forward as I can right there, protected by these 2 little guys. And then this guy right next to the Sorcerer, or right next to the Master Possession, and then this Terminator right there. So what you're going to do on this objective is I'm going to run my Abaddon. He's running 3 inches, so I'm going as far where I want to get my Veilbraker plate going. So I'm going to run up 9 inches up to here. All right. Then I'm going to run my Master Possession as far forward as I possibly can. He's going to run 3 inches. So he's running also 9 inches right behind Abaddon. And the reason I need to do that is because I need to shank a Terminator turn 1 as far forward as I possibly can. I'll show you. This guy who wants to get OPSEC on that Terminator unit is going to run 2 inches. So he's running 8 inches. So he's getting up to right behind Abaddon, right about there. So all my characters are now up front as far forward as they can possibly go. Then you Veilbraker plate where you want them to be, which is probably close to these guys. But you need to remember, put 1 guy within 3 inches of your Master Possession, because he's going to be the sacrificial pawn. He's going to be within 3 inches of the Master Possession. And then everybody else is going to be, one's going to be within 6 inches of this guy. He's the one that's not going to move, because he's within 6 inches of the Dark Apostle, so that way he can make the unit OPSEC. And then everybody else is going to be outside 9 inches of the unit that you want to charge. So the Sorcerer, they all have to be completely within 6 inches, but all of them are going to be outside 9 of this guy. So they're all going to be right about there. All right, so they're all right there, outside 9. Now you have to shank. So turn 1, you're shanking the Terminator after they all ran. So you shank him for 3, so 1 shot, he already dies. Now you don't have to shank anymore if you don't want to. I probably wouldn't shank because I have the Venom Crawler for the +1. But you cast the power, you can cast the +1 strength to toughness goes off. And then the healer guy, so it goes off on a 10, 11. You then make him within 2 inches right there. So now this charge again becomes 4-inch charge because you're within 6 of Abaddon. And I just made a guy 2 inches further. So that's a 4-inch charge turn 1 because you're able to shank the guy. That's the Veilbraker plate combo. So even though your Terminator started all the way in the back here, they can do that there. The max that you can possibly do it, if you want to keep coherency for illusionary supplication, is this bad guy can be within 9 inches of this guy. You need 1 guy to be within 3 inches of your Master Possession, which is going to be right about here. And then all the other guys just have to be within 2 inches of that guy. So 2 inches, 2 inches, and then everything else can kind of be all the way out here. 2 inches, right about there, and then right there. So this is kind of like the farthest that you can go with the Veilbraker plate and still be in coherency of everybody else. You got a little brick right here, and then they can charge in. Staying now, once this guy dies, right, you can make him up here, and now this guy is the one that's not going to be able to move. This guy right here is going to kind of scooch up right to there, and then everybody else can like kind of be as far, when they make their charge. Sorcerer obviously isn't charging, so he's going to be staying back. But this guy's here, and then everybody else is kind of charging up to here. So that is insane. So you're basically starting back here, Veilbraker plating, all the characters are running up, Veilbraker plating, and then shooting and then charging into whatever you want to kill. But again, you have to make sure that you get the points for the Veilbraker plate. So hopefully that is, again, take some practice. I taught this, to get faster with Mike when we first started learning it. And we were going to LVO last year, and we just kept running the scenario where he would sit down his guys. He would then
move up his guys in the order that he needed to move it up, and then he would Veilbraker play it and just keep practicing that order. Like if you keep practicing, you're going to get better and faster at it, especially on the clock, because every tournament or RTT that you can go to is probably going to have a clock. So if you don't have it down and you're thinking too much, like, should I Veilbraker play it? Should I not? Should I do it over there? Should I do it over there? Should I Veilbraker play it? Wait, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Let me go back. Like, you got to be like, all right, I'm going to commit. Let me roll my Illusionary Supplication. Illusionary Supplication goes off. Good. We're committing. Illusionary Supplication doesn't go off. You're like, all right, maybe I can hold back one more turn and kind of just wait until that Illusionary goes off. And then once it goes off, then you can be like, all right, I'm committing 100%. So that's going to be the Veilbraker plate strat. You have Abaddon to protect the Terminators. If anybody else comes in, Abaddon can then swoop in and kind of kill whatever the fuck came in. And also, he's going to be protecting the other characters right around because they don't really want to get near Abaddon. So if he's right next to all the other characters, they're like, all right, I'm going to stay all the way on the side of the table. So that Veilbraker plate is super fun to play. It's super aggressive if you're into that play style, but it does take practice. You need to trade well with it. If you don't trade well, it's not really going to be worth it to play it or worth it for you. So it makes your Terminator super fast, super aggressive, and super scary on the opponent's side, thinking when is he going to do it? Where am I going to put my characters? And if they have big models like Mortarion or big vehicles that they're trying to protect, it's going to be very hard to protect with a teleporting, fully buffed up blob of Terminators. I forgot to mention the reason you keep 6 inches away from the Master or the Dark Apostle is because next turn you want to be able to put Illusionary Supplication again on that unit. If you throw them out too far, they only have Illusionary for one turn. The next turn they won't have it, so they're probably going to die. So when you Veilbraker play, you want to make sure your characters run forward as far as they possibly can, still protected, but next turn you want to be able to put Illusionary Supplication on for at least one more turn to kind of kill more stuff to get their points back. So hopefully that made sense to you. If you have any questions or comments about it, definitely put them in the thing below so that I can explain a little bit better. But let me know if you liked it. And hopefully these strategies for these specific armies get to you guys before 10th edition, because if you guys are checking this out after 10th edition, it's probably not even going to be around. But I do want to thank you for clicking on the video. If you guys, again, like the channel, want to support the Dirtbag Nation, head over to Patreon, and also the Discord. If you guys want to go over there and ask any questions, comments, concerns, definitely head over to Discord. If you guys are interested in the placemats for 40k Dirtbags, we have a whole bunch of different armies and the little Kabachi. I forget what they're fucking called, the big head guys. They're all sponsored through Dirtbag Nation, through an artist on Fiverr. So we own the rights to them. So we're selling stickers, dice, and 3d6 Wargaming. If you guys want to go check it out, the link's in the comment below. If you guys are interested in a bunch of stuff that I use for the tournaments, that's actually in the link below as well. But again, besides all that, let me know in the comments what I liked, what you liked, what you didn't like, and how we can improve so we can help you guys make more content for the 40k moving forward, especially going into 10th edition. So appreciate it, guys. Good luck. I'm so bright right now because of these stupid fucking lighting. Appreciate it. We'll see you in another video soon.